live on YouTube.
Woohoo! All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Shama. I'm the program director here at Girls and Geese. We are back for yet another Ask a Black Belt. Yee. Oops, got a loop there. Okay. So, are you still there, Dom? Did I didn't lose you?
All good on my part.
Awesome. All right. So we are here for yet another Ask a Black Belt. We have Dominyka, and I've known you forever, and I'm going to butcher your last name, and you can correct me. Is it Obelenyte?
Obelenyte. You were super close.
Obelenyte. Ah.
Known each other so long, you get a free pass. You don't even need to say the last name at this point.
There we go. I think I called you Dom last time because you are. Dom is a bomb.
I'm fine as well.
Awesome. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good. I've been kind of like riding the wave of lockdown, working very hard on running consistent solo drill classes and just kind of classes to enable people to get a little bit in touch with jiu-jitsu without actually leaving their homes and just making use of whatever mediums they have available to them. I actually hurt my ankle really badly. I don't want to, it's like not embarrassed. It's hilarious to me to talk about because it's like, of course, one of the worst injuries that I've sustained in like the recent history of being a human being is not jiu-jitsu related. Last Wednesday, I was rollerblading in Central Park because I'm a rollerblader now because I've decided that that's kind of something that I wanted to learn how to do so that I could rollerblade to the gym and not have to worry about public transport.
Yeah.
New York City. And that's just something I've always been really interested in because I suck at anything relating to balance. I can't stand on a skateboard. I can't do anything relating to like actually balancing or using my ankle mobility. And Wednesday at Central Park, I was skating around and my friend was like, okay, let's skate to my apartment now. And I'm like, are you sure I can do it? And she's like, yeah, for sure you can do it. And the first few steps on the skates, I just fell back at this crazy angle and just wiped out in such a way that my ankle has been like swollen and black and blue and I'm unable to put weight on it. It's been like this for like the last 7 days. I've been walking around on crutches. It's been a time, honestly. It's been a month.
Like injured in quarantine.
Exactly. I never thought that something like this could happen to me. And it's like, again, hilarious and a little bit upsetting.
No, rollerblades. I remember I'm old enough. I remember when rollerblades like came out and then they scared the crap out of me. I think I ate crap a lot. Like,
my mom bought me a pair of roller skates when I was really young. Back when I lived in Queens when I was like 8. And she would put me on the balcony and to make me practice. And I just kept wiping out on my butt. And she was like, you know what? You're not talented enough for this. Like, we need to take these away from you because there's no way you're going to be able to do this. And ever since that moment, I was like, you know what? I think I might find more success with blades. I should give it a try. And I've been doing like okay, like enough to a place where I feel like I can move around and not just totally wipe out all the time. I also have a tendency because I'm a jiu-jitsu person. They say this in every video and with every person that knows how to rollerblade, you never fall backwards, right? Because like if you fall forward, at least you have the knee pads or whatever, or your kneecaps and hands to base on. But because I'm a jiu-jitsu person, I'm so used to break falling. I'm like, just wipe out backwards and break fall into concrete without a helmet on. Yeah, not a good situation.
But I bet the forward roll would come in handy though if you had some kind of wipeout coming forward. I don't know how the landing would be.
If I was in any way able to configure how to forward roll while wiping out instead of just like falling and rolling as I usually do. I also have a tendency to like laugh really hard after I fall. And people think that I'm crying, so they all run up to me and I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm just embarrassed. Like, I'm just laughing at myself because I'm a turd.
That's fun. So have you incorporated your dance moves into your rollerblading, or is that like the next step?
Heck no way. I look like I've been lovingly referred to as like a baby giraffe that's learning how to walk. But friends who have seen videos of me rollerblading, it's really at that level where I'm just like very shaky and like all padded up, wearing like the wrist guards and the knee pads and like the just everything to like protect myself with. And I just look like a funny stumbling mess, but I can kind of move around pretty okay. Like for now, pretty okay. I used to wipe out every couple of steps. I wasn't even able to like move forward or backward, and now I can kind of stop and things like that. So that's what's going on there. I will not be able to do any kind of dancing correlation with the rollerblading anytime soon, especially not with this fat potato of an ankle that I have.
Well, I look forward to the time that you do hit that, because that's going to be pretty badass. Like, I'll get some major TikTok videos coming your way. And that's oh, so have you, I know that for a lot of people in jiu-jitsu, doing the transition from real live event or real live classes into doing it all digital and virtual, was that a hard transition for you to? I talked to somebody about like how as an instructor or whatnot, you kind of feed off the room, and that was something that they missed. But have you noticed anything for you that has made that a hard transition in the beginning, or was it pretty smooth? How did that work for you?
I would generally refer to myself as a relatively adaptable kind of person. So when I'm presented with a problem, I don't necessarily spend a lot of time panicking about it, or just kind of a lot. I don't really indulge like any of the severe emotions that you may find. I kind of go into troubleshooting mode. And when all of this started happening, I started to think very seriously about how I would still be able to be a competent instructor and give back towards my students, or just give back to the community in some way that was useful to them. And I know a lot of people use jujitsu as an outlet for whatever emotional stuff they have going on, whatever emotional baggage they're holding on from either their work or their family, or just personal trauma from years before. They need to use jujitsu as a physical release to help themselves. And obviously, we don't have the community aspect anymore because of social distancing and whatnot. So you're kind of not allowed to have those deep, meaningful interactions body to body. But maybe I just kind of had this thought of like, maybe you could rework the format of jiu-jitsu in a way that somebody could do it in their tiny 200-300 square foot room in New York City and still kind of find some sort of joy in it, still kind of feel like they're practicing the art that they've been learning, or that they've been so passionate about for the last like few years of their lives. So I kind of decided to make it a little bit less about myself and a little bit more about trying to give back to the community itself, because of how much I'm fully supported by people that like jiu-jitsu, that are enthusiastic about jiu-jitsu. I'm not supported by companies. I'm not supported by any like big organizations or conglomerates that are giving me money to do this. I'm supported by the people that come and take my classes and interact with me and take me on as an instructor. I'm supported by my students. So I wanted to figure out a way to give back to people like that, and give them like a little semblance of sanity amidst all of this. The transition definitely wasn't easy. It started off relatively easy because I kind of figured out a personal format that worked best for me, that involved taking actual technique sequences that I'm well versed in and configuring them to be solo drills. So you'd still be practicing a chain of movements that represent like an actual sequence of techniques that you would see in an actual lesson in a jiu-jitsu class. So it wasn't just random. It wasn't like sprawl 20 times, squat 20 times, whatever, like the kind of like a workout or a hit workout kind of situation that a lot of people are doing. That definitely worked for me, and I think it worked for a lot of people. A lot of people were enthusiastic about it. But I noticed over time that it's not that the movements got stale. It's kind of like the energy got stale. It's very difficult to work in an online medium. It's difficult to work looking at a screen and work from the same place every time. And I kind of had to turn my room into a dojo. So I would like open up, I wouldn't even want to spend a lot of time in my bedroom. I'd want to spend more time like outside in the park or outside in the living room even, because I would come into my room and be like, okay, this is where I work. Like, this is where I plan classes and outline things and send emails and like do all these Zoom calls and meetings. I don't even want to sleep here. It's not relaxing. So it detracted a lot from just like the oasis I had built for myself in my room. And I'm hopeful that I'll be able to move away from the online medium soon into teaching socially distanced or just kind of legal classes soon, and be able to interact with my students on a more personal and physical level. But it's definitely, it's not a great situation. I'm sure a lot of people are in worse or tougher spots than I am, but I think I've been able to make it work for myself in a way.
Yeah. No, I hope that we're kind of moving back to the time where we can actually do jujitsu. I know a lot of states have been opening up, and it's really interesting to kind of watch what's going on in the states that are ahead. Um, but I'm hopeful that we can put this behind us soon and kind of go back to what was, with maybe an adjustment. Who knows right now? So you are one of those. You're one of those. You're of that generation that came up the ranks. You're a child, athlete. What was it like coming? How long have you been training? You've been training like close to 20 years or so, somewhere in there, yeah.
I've been training about 14 years. Sorry, I had like somebody is continuing to try and FaceTime me. And I'm just gonna keep declining them. I hope that my face is still like present. I'm just gonna keep declining.
No, you're fine.
I'm so sorry. I don't even know who this person is. I've been training for about 14 years, and I've been teaching, I believe, for about 4.
So what was it like being a child and coming up in jiu-jitsu? Because 14 years ago, it was very, very different than what we see now as far as opportunities. You're someone who's spoken out a lot about equality. Um, I'm curious to see, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but like your perspective of being a child and then coming into adulthood and being a part of this community. Did it change from being a child into adulthood? Was there anything notable that you can kind of share with us, I guess?
Sure. I would say that, I mean, it's definitely an experience that I don't know that a lot of people share. I know that most jiu-jitsu people I know that started out young, I'm like closer with them, and we kind of understand each other better because of that, because of the fact that we had this shared experience. I think the main thing that I learned, and I even remember having like a lucid thought when I was around 15 or 16, thinking like, man, what does it feel like to be Dom, to you, what does it feel like to be so young and being surrounded by adults all the time? How do you think that helped shape you? And the answer was kind of, well, I learned how to interact with adults a lot better. And I, because of my ability to have conversations with adults that weren't just about stupid teenager things, I think I was really able to cultivate a voice that allowed me to then be a more confident teacher and a more confident orator and just speaker. It definitely gave me more confidence in terms of interactivity, just in general. But it was very tough to be a kid in jiu-jitsu when I was starting out. The school that I started out in had a kids program. It had like 2 girls in it that were they came very sporadically, and eventually they both ended up quitting. I was training in a small team with a lot of boys that were stronger than me and tougher than me and faster than me, and I was always the underdog. I think I was one of the bigger kids in class, and I was losing all the time, losing every tournament that I ever went to. I'm just not doing a really good job of utilizing anything that I learned in class in tournaments, and just kind of growing. And then slowly I started to become better once kind of my dad and I reprogrammed and repurposed trainings to really take it seriously and see what it would take to be an athlete at the time. And then I got moved up to the adult classes once the main instructor at the time, Luis Interloro, saw that I wasn't being challenged enough at the kids classes. And what I was met with immediately was a lot of ego, and that's totally natural. I'm not saying that it was really bad. It was a great learning experience for me and how to deal with people. But I was met with a lot of adults that couldn't handle me kind of putting them in tough situations. And I wasn't beating everyone up. It's not like I was running circles around like 30-year-old men. I was definitely getting my ass handed to me every single night. But I would also be able to reverse people in certain positions, or get to a dominant position once in a while, or even catch a submission. And people wouldn't like that. They put me in situations where instead of actually moving, or instead of actually progressing in the role, they would sit on me, kind of hunker down, and then hold me still until I couldn't move, which was very claustrophobic and very kind of frustrating. It was definitely frustrating. I had a lot of guys also, when I would get into dominant positions, try to coach me through submissions. And I was like, man, I got the submission on my own. Like, I locked in the armbar, it's fully extended. Why are you telling me how to finish it, like, at the very last second? And it kind of made me, it made me feel like I wasn't being respected as a training partner or just even as a person in general. And I guess I carried that with me all throughout my teenage years because I kind of always assumed that people saw me as an underdog because I was younger and I was a woman, and I just kind of was like not really playing into the role of full-time committed athlete. I was going to school, and I never really took jiu-jitsu seriously as a career. I always thought it was something that I would do on the side and then work a regular people job. So my perspective like changed a lot, and it was very difficult to be like surrounded by people that I felt like I couldn't relate to in a greater sense. Like, I've had several conversations with Gianni Grippo about similar kind of things, and we both kind of, I think, resonate well with one another because we understand what it takes to like grow up in the ranks and not really feel like we have the adults on our side or the kids on our side, you know, because we were kind of like the underdogs or the outcasts of each group of people. So it definitely taught me to hold my head up high and like take on not a lot of criticism, but take on a lot of situations that were unfavorable and that kind of challenge you in a way where you don't really understand where you fit in or where you belong, but you have to kind of persevere and decide that this is the space that you need to stay in order to get better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I've known you for a while now, and you're like one of, anytime I'm in New York, I'm like, I got to go train with Dom. And I absolutely love the environment that you've created. It feels like, for lack of a better word, it feels like a safe place, you know? And I remember when you first started teaching over there, and to where the last time I was up there, I think it was last year. And it's amazing to see how many people you've adopted into this tribe. Um, and I remember, and sorry if I'm sharing this publicly, but I remember you telling me at one point that like your place, you wanted to create a space for people to feel like they belonged, like they were valued, like they contributed something, and that they had your full attention. And that really stood out to me because I don't think that, I think I see it, I look at you and I see someone who really takes your role as being an instructor and a coach as something super serious. And I don't think that people look at that the way that you do necessarily. And I wish we had more people that do. But what is one of the things that inspired you to create this space for everybody?
Thank you so much, Hama, first of all, for saying those things. It's so funny. Somebody recently told me that they think that I take myself seriously, and they weren't saying this in a negative light, but I thought about that statement for a while because I don't generally tend to see myself as a serious person, but hearing you say that I try to take myself seriously as an instructor is very accurate. I feel like I've had many life situations where, not pinpointing any instructors in general, just kind of, I've seen a lot of instructors in my life. I've been a part of many gyms. I've done seminars at many gyms. I've just gone to train at many different gyms and interacted with a lot of people that were the heads or the people in charge. And I've seen what it takes to be a really good instructor. You have to be motivating. You have to be secure in who you are, secure enough that you accept that you don't know everything and that you have flaws and you're willing to take a look at those flaws and make inferences. And I've seen what it's like to be a bad instructor. And I think the worst instructors are, aside from the ones that are really committing like aggressive acts or being very toxic towards their students, one of the worst qualities that I see in instructors that are generally regarded as poor instructors is apathy. They just kind of coast along the knowledge or information that they've acquired over their years of training. I think most of us kind of acquire the basis of our game or the foundation of our game at around purple belt, where things start to really make sense and we start to accrue certain transitions and place everything into our muscle memory bank and then go off from there. And I see a lot of instructors that just kind of take what they learned at purple belt and continue to regurgitate it without really reforming it or reshaping it And it seems like they're kind of going through the motions instead of trying to actively participate and engage with their students. And I remember just thinking that I've had a lot of difficulty finding a space in jiu-jitsu that feels like it's my own. I've like used the word outcast and underdog a lot, and it's really how I saw myself for the most of the 14 years that I've been training, especially as a competitor. I was a European, so I wasn't really representing America or Brazil, which were kind of the main countries at the time that people supported. I was a woman again, and back at the time when I first started competing, there was no women's representation. Women didn't have any opportunities. Like, I was reaching out to sponsors day and night since blue belt, and I got my first sponsors at brown belt after already having won worlds several times. And I just remember not being taken very seriously and being kind of pushed to the side a lot. And it wasn't the mindset that I acquired didn't originate from a place of pity. It kind of originated from a place of, I want people to feel like, I don't want people to feel the things that I did. I want them to have an easier entry into jiu-jitsu. I want them to enter into a gym space and not look around and feel panic, not look around and have a pit in their stomach. Like, who do I talk to? Is the coach going to take care of me? Are the people here going to be nice? Are they going to show me the way? Or are they going to kind of see me as fresh meat, use my body in a way to kind of like let out all their pent up aggression and then just kind of leave? It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I know that my goal as an instructor, aside from kind of being able to communicate jiu-jitsu in a way that is applicable for all my students and their different body types and different learning styles, is to create a space where my students can come and really feel like they're home, really feel like they can have a connection with every single person on the mat and be understood and seen by everyone on the mat, and also have their bodies and their mental states and just kind of everything around them taken not taken care of, but like taken into consideration. Because I think that we tend to assume that jiu-jitsu is just a place kind of like a gym where you go in and you lift the weights and you pump the iron and sweat and then leave. It's not. Like, there's a lot of vulnerability happening in every single thing that we do. There's a lot of honesty and a lot of openness with somebody offering up their body to be put into positions of danger, to be put into positions where they could seriously get injured if someone decides to push things a little bit past the limit. And I think we need to really respect that and give space for it to be seen and valued and appreciated. And so that's kind of been the basis for how I've decided to build the program at the gym that I'm teaching at, which is Heinz Combat Sports in Long Island City. And it's kind of the template that I'm going to use for when I open up my own academy in the near future.
Awesome. I think you've definitely succeeded in achieving that, and I look forward to seeing everything else that you do for the community. So I will close out. What is the best piece of advice or most memorable or applicable piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
That I've ever gotten?
And that's a big one.
Wow. I feel I'm not this isn't the best piece of advice that I've gotten, but this is like it's not even advice. Honestly, it's just kind of a statement somebody said to me once. I was thinking about this a lot in the last week because I've been thinking about all the responses of everything that's happening around us right now because of COVID and the protests and things like that, as people really needing space to vent their grief. And I've been thinking about how I felt very not taken into consideration when I was doing a lot of my equal pay stuff. I had a lot of people kind of opposing it in front of me and trying to use logic and trying to rationalize like not offering women the same opportunities and just kind of services, I guess, in a jiu-jitsu related context. And I remember complaining about this to someone, just complaining about the lack of equity. And they said something along the lines of, why are you complaining? I was like, what do you mean, why am I complaining? Like, I have a right to complain about this thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you don't. Like, if you're not going to do anything about it, you shouldn't be complaining about it because you're just like spitting words into a vacuum. And I was so personally offended by that statement. And I remember going home and being like, I can't believe this person isn't taking my feelings into consideration, my feelings. And I was so pissed. And then I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, you know, it was coming from I don't even know if it was coming from a place of tough love. Honestly, it sounds like it was probably just coming from a place of like, I'm tired of hearing about this. But I thought about that statement, and I was like, you know what? It's true. Like, I really don't have a right to complain about something unless I'm willing to change it. Unless I'm willing to take the words that I'm saying and translate them into action, I'm really no better than anyone else that's kind of sitting on their asses or even berating or critiquing something. So that really lit a fire under my butt in terms of getting myself up and telling myself that I do have the power and the strength and the means to challenge status quos and take things into my own hands and try to change things for the better. And obviously equal pay was like, it was a very big campaign that I worked on really hard when I was like 16, 17, 18. And I didn't really do what I set out for it to do, but it did. A lot of positive things happen as a result of it, and I never gave myself enough credit for it. And now I'm in a place where I feel the same way, where I have a lot of ideas, but I've been really afraid to kind of voice them because generally the climate of the jiu-jitsu community is one where a lot of fierce opinions are uplifted, and I've never been the kind of person who's very interested in like putting on airs or saying a lot of like really big um, glaring statements in a way. But I also realized that that was coming from a place of fear, just in the same way that I was complaining about the lack of equity and refusing to do anything about it. So I think lately that's been the most important kind of advice statement in a way that I've been using to help fuel myself in order to achieve the goals that I set out to achieve in the last 5 months that have been kind of derailed by everything happening. I just need to reframe them and continue plugging ahead, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I'm excited. No, I agree with you. Like, so it's hard, you know, you do kind of struggle with that feeling of having to sit on your hands sometimes. And it's difficult, but it is also important for people to speak out that have something to say and for all of us to listen. So I look forward to you talking off your platforms, preaching off your soapbox, because you do have a lot to say and you have a lot to offer, and you've done a lot for the community, whether you realize it or not. You know, I didn't realize you were 16 or 17 when you were launching that campaign. That's I remember when you did it. I remember the group that you set up for it, and wow, that's crazy. Time is flying.
Yeah, it was extra crazy because I had a lot of like adults like coming for me online, which is what made me really want to step away from doing anything like that ever again. I remember like Reddit posts that were just kind of like trying to dismantle everything and like calling me entitled or whatnot. And I remember thinking like, man, I'm 16, like cut me some slack.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I really didn't realize you were a teenager when you were doing. That's pretty impressive, Dom. But I'm not surprised you.
Thank you.
No, but seriously, I mean, but you have, since you launched that campaign, you opened up the dialogue, you opened up the idea, and look at how things have changed. I mean, compared to where it was when you launched that, compared to how many paid opportunities women have, how many companies are like, oh yeah, we should pay the women the same, they work just as hard. So you were a part of that. We all, you know, so be proud of that is what I'm trying to say.
I'm also very grateful that kind of the big thing that emerged from that movement was the IBJJF releasing equal prizes for the black belt athletes, the top ranked black belt athletes, and that's something that I really take to heart. I'm like, okay, that definitely helped push the organization towards that place because they were kind of put in a corner and told to kind of do something about this kind of action, and it also that even that them announcing that they were going to do those equal prizes unleashed a lot of criticism from a lot of high level athletes that very quickly got kind of pushed to the side because of their just discriminatory opinions, you know.
Yeah, it's a shame that that's present, but I think change is coming. It's been slow, but it's coming, and it's happening bit by bit by bit, but thanks to you, thank you for helping to be a part of that, and thank you for encouraging that and for creating those opportunities for the generations to come that'll get to reap those rewards. So much of the part of what makes jiu-jitsu special, what that women are starting to have an inclusive spot on it, to where women coming in now are going, oh, there's, I feel so welcomed here. Well, it's because of women like you that have made these strides and these sacrifices and have put yourself out there to be scrutinized, that we are seeing that progress. So, but awesome. Well, on that note, folks, Dom and I can talk forever, but thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. How can they get a hold of you, Dom? Do you have anything you want to promote?
Of course, sure. Feel free. I mean, most of my interactions with people are usually through email and Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Dom the Bomb Your Mom. If you just look up my name, I know that's kind of a mouthful, and people usually laugh and forget what I actually said when I say something like that. On my Instagram bio is also my website, www.dominykaO.com, where you can find kind of my instructionals, some blog posts that I've written before, and where you can also find my email and get in touch with me there. Thank you so much, Shama, for having me come on board. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope to see you soon in person and maybe train with you once my fat ankle turns into a not fat ankle.
Well, thank you so much, Dom. Thank you for always supporting the cause, taking the time to be a part of these segments. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.